Everyone talks about this like it's a mystery. It isn't. Ask any 28-year-old why they haven't had kids yet and you'll get the same answer in different words. I can't afford it. Not, I don't want it. Can't afford it. So let's actually look at the number, because almost nobody has said it out loud with a source attached. Raising one child from birth to 18 in the UK now costs, on average, £259,028 for a couple. If you're doing it alone, it's £290,807. That's not a scare number from a tabloid. That's the Child Poverty Action Group's own research, published at the end of last year. Strip out rent and childcare completely, and it's still £167,679 for a couple. Just food, clothes, school costs, the basics of keeping a person alive and functioning for 18 years. Say that number out loud to someone on an average UK salary and watch their face change. Here's the part almost nobody warns you about before they have kids. Full-time nursery for a child under 2 costs between £12,000 and £18,000 a year, depending on where you live in the UK. That's before the child has said a single word. In Wales, the average full nursery bill for a 2-year-old is over £16,000 a year. In England, it's lower, but still over £7,000. For a lot of parents, that's more than their rent or mortgage. 2 working parents can end up with one of them effectively working just to pay the nursery bill. Now here's the bit that actually helps, and it gets buried under all the scary headlines. If you're working and your child is between 2 and 4, you may be entitled to 30 funded hours of childcare a week in England. That can knock £6,000 to £12,000 a year straight off that bill. Thousands of eligible parents don't claim it, either because they don't know it exists or because the application feels like a part-time job in itself. This is the first practical thing in this video. Check your eligibility before you assume the full price is the only price. Here's the stat that should end this conversation for good. 9 in 10 young British women say they still want to be mothers one day. On average, they want 2.3 children. That's not a generation that's fallen out of love with the idea of family. The researchers who found this were clear. It's financial constraints hitting young people, not a change in what anyone actually wants. The UK's fertility rate dropped to 1.41 in 2024. That's the lowest since records began in 1938. Not because people changed their minds, because the sums stopped adding up. Now here's where this video actually turns into something useful, instead of just depressing you. Not all £259,000 of that number is unavoidable. A big chunk of what people spend on kids isn't need. It's comparison. The all-new nursery furniture set. The £600 pram, because that's the one everyone's tagging on Instagram. Brand new everything. When a baby that's grown for 4 months doesn't know or care whether the baby grow is new or handed down from a cousin. Second-hand baby gear, hand-me-down clothes, and borrowed equipment from friends and family routinely cut thousands off the first 2 years alone, with zero difference to the child. Kids under 5 have no concept of brand, price, or keeping up. That entire pressure is coming from other adults, not from the child. So here's what an honest plan actually looks like, not a Pinterest board. Split the number into what's fixed and what's a choice. Fixed, food, basic clothing, healthcare, and if you're working, some form of childcare. Choice. The newest gear, private extras, and the version of parenting that shows up highlight reel first on social media. Before the child arrives, check 3 things. What childcare support you're actually entitled to, what second-hand or hand-me-down network you already have access to, and what your real monthly number looks like once you strip out the optional spending. This isn't a video telling you kids are cheap. They're not. But the number that's stopping people isn't the real number. It's the inflated, comparison-driven version of it. Strip that away and what's left is still a serious cost, but a plannable one. One that thousands of families on completely ordinary incomes manage every single day. Not because they're wealthy, but because they know which parts of the spending are real and which parts are pressure. The maths that's scaring a generation away from having kids they actually want is solvable. It just needs to be looked at honestly, once, before you decide it's impossible. Nobody sits their kids down and explains this stuff. The real cost, the support that exists, and the difference between what a child needs and what everyone else says they need. None of it gets taught anywhere. That's the actual gap. If this helped you see the number differently, share it with someone who's on the fence about starting a family. Not to talk them into it or out of it, just so they're deciding with the real numbers instead of the scary headline version. Subscribe for the next one.